This is Rashad.
I'm Josiah,
And Mr. Hayman.
and this is this is the Viking podcast. Today we're going to be talking about a bunch of topics. With the election coming up, we're going to discuss that, and we're going to discuss a bunch of personal-ish questions with Mr. Hayman, just getting to know him as a teacher and as a person. So thank you for listening, and I hope you have a good time. And let's get started. First off, we have a bunch of sports update for you guys. For football, Friday, October 25th at Kamiak, Lake Stevens beat Kamiak 57-12.
Volleyball on Monday versus Monroe won 3-0. And on Wednesday versus Mariner, varsity won 3-0 as well.
For girls soccer, last Monday versus Glacier Peak, Lake Stevens beat them 2-0.
Moving on to clubs. There are a bunch of clubs at this school, and I hope that all of you are able to participate in at least one of these. A lot of different options. I'm going to list out them, and email me or Keon if you would like to know when these clubs are meeting and where. We have Girls Who Code, Natural Highs Network, Drama Club, FCCLA, Magic the Gathering, GSA, Interact, Video Game Club, DECA, Diversity Student Union, Dead Poet Society, Islamic Student Union, Tabletop Club, Yearbook, Key Club, Mecha, French and Friends, TSA, and National Honor Society.
Moving on, we have a couple of announcements for a couple of events coming up. First off, Drama Club is hosting their fall play, which is Talk Everlasting this year. You guys should definitely go watch. It'll be very fun. Moving on, Video Game Club is having their second annual Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Lunch Tournament. Personal experience, you're going to love it. Have fun. Moving on. Check out our new VTV episode. I was personally on it. It was very fun to produce. I hope you guys enjoy it.
I watched it. It was nice.
Very nice.
Going on to college, because this last week there was a bunch of stuff happening. Hopefully all of you who wanted to apply to your college. Hopefully as you're meeting with Miss LaFortune. And just, I hope you guys don't get stressed about it. Enjoy high school, seniors, and know that this next step, whatever happens, you will succeed. You just need to do what you enjoy, do what you think will fulfill your passion, and don't get stressed about whether you get accepted or not, and move on, move forward. Enjoy this year and look forward to brighter times.
Yeah. And one last note for those of you that have not applied yet, what are you doing? Go apply. You've probably missed out on a couple of colleges already because the deadline was last Friday. So get to it.
Hey, it's Editor Josiah here. I just realized that we forgot to do the introduction for Mr. Hayman for the main segment. So, yeah, here's the main part. We're going to be asking Mr. Hayman a couple of questions, and I hope you enjoy.
Do you want to start with the first question?
Yeah, we can do that. Okay, Mr. Hayman, what's your experience like at LSHS? Your favorite, least favorite things? What's your experience?
I have been here at Lake Stevens High School since 2001. That's a long time.
Yes.
And we've had some highs and lows, and overall, Lake Stevens is a great place to work. It's a great place to get an education. It's one of the best high schools in the county, if not the best high school in the county. Great teachers, great students. Some of my favorite times, well, being the Gov teacher, it's seeing kids actually being active in topics that they care about and topics they believe about, and convincing the decision makers in the district that they want to see more out of our school. A few years ago, after the unfortunate shooting at Marysville-Pilchuck High School, it had an impact on our students here, and a couple of student leaders came to me and were like, we kind of want to do something about gun violence in schools. We just don't know what. And we kind of talked about what they wanted and how they wanted to express their emotions and their thoughts about gun violence in schools. And it was really amazing to watch those students lead at the time a student demonstration during the school day that was supported by district admin and building admin in a way that made students feel like they were part of a solution and not part of a problem and not victims.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Next question. Why did you end up going down the teaching path?
The joke is that I never wanted to leave high school. But being on this side of the desk is a little bit different than being on your side of the desk, and it was a little different now. But when I was in school, I had a middle school teacher who was my U.S. history teacher that helped me create a love for teaching U.S. history, and I really got involved then. But then when I was a junior in high school, my U.S. history teacher then and my Gov teacher then really kind of hooked me and got me, got that hook set in my love of American history and American government. And when I was in high school trying to figure out what I wanted to do, I'm like, I really like history. I really like government. I'm going to give that a try. And so I went to the University of Idaho and got my teaching degree through the University of Idaho and started off on my journey. Never looked back.
Wow. Okay, well, next question. Your biggest takeaways that you want to give to your students?
Vote.
That's a good one.
That's
Yep.
actually one of the later questions.
Okay, we'll get to it later then. Be resilient. Be a lifelong learner. Always question things. But also, eventually, the only person who's going to care about you is you. If you don't stand up for yourself and say, hey, I need this, I need help, I need to pursue this thing because it's what's going to matter for me, nobody else is going to pull for you. If
Yeah.
you're not willing to pull for yourself, nobody else is going to do it for you.
Mhm.
That's really nice.
Moving on to the questions that Billingsley actually gave me. I know you have a great relationship with him.
I have a great relationship with Mr. Billingsley.
Mhm.
He's a fantastic guy.
Yeah. One of the first questions he told me to ask you was your thoughts on Crocs.
Hey, do you know why Crocs have holes in them?
No.
Not really.
It's where your dignity leaks out.
Mm.
That being said, I'm currently wearing some Lake Stevens High School Vikings Crocs I
Yes,
bought
you
from the
are.
swim team. During COVID, I've been making fun of Crocs for a long time. During COVID, when I was teaching from home, I'm like, all right. So I bought a pair of Crocs that have the fuzzy lining in them.
Yeah.
Wore those around the house. And like, okay, I can maybe kind of sort of see the drive for them. And then I bought a pair that have the American flag on them
Mm.
that stay in my camp trailer. They're called my Crocs because I only wear them at our camp trailer. And then, okay, there's a lot now. I was online and I was just like scrolling through whatever, and there was a Croc sale and they were like $15. How could I not buy another pair of Crocs? So I bought it. Yeah. So even though I make fun of Crocs, I now have 4 pair, but I very rarely wear them in public.
Mm.
I'm not sure what Billingsley means by this, but what's it like being a Mason?
So Masonry is Freemasonry. It's my fraternity.
Meaning?
So Freemasonry is we tout ourselves as being the world's oldest fraternity. So it's a membership group, a brotherhood that men can join, where we focus on life lessons and we figure out how to make each other better men. It is, like I said, the world's oldest fraternity. We trace our roots back to at least 1717 in Great Britain.
Wow.
And a lot of many founding fathers have been Freemasons. Many signers of the Constitution have been Freemasons. Some actors, some presidents have been Freemasons. And it's my, I don't want to call it a hobby because it's more than that. It's my fraternity. It's my brotherhood.
That's cool.
Mm.
Yeah.
Nice.
Mr. Billingsley mentioned something about being a Shriner. So what is that like?
So I'm a Shriner. Every Shriner has to. It's another part of our fraternity. Every Shriner has to be a Freemason, but not every Freemason is a Shriner. So I equate it to once you have finished high school, you can go off and go to different colleges if you want to. So once you become a full-fledged Freemason, which is what I am, then you can go off and join other kind of Masonic organizations.
Mhm.
And so the one that I chose to join is called Shriners International. It is another part of our fraternity where we have lots of fun and lots of brotherhood and just kind of hanging out with a bunch of guys talking about life and our families but also we have a philanthropy that we support. We have 22 hospitals that we support, along with about 150 health clinics around the world that treat children's illnesses, orthopedic injuries, burns, cleft lip and palate, and we do all that treatment at no cost to the families. So we help to treat those kids from, quite honestly, around the world so that they can live full lives.
That's very selfless.
Yeah, so it's a lot of fun. And it's the fun part about it is that we spread our message through doing things like parades. So I have you can identify a Shriner by wearing they have red fezzes. And so I have a red fez that I wear, and I do parades with it. And a lot of people will associate Shriners with the guys who wear red fezzes who drive tiny cars in parades. I don't have a tiny car, but I do have a drift trike.
Ooh.
So my drift trike is, imagine when I was a kid, we had these things called big wheels. And so it's a kind of a plastic bicycle kind of a deal that on the front has a great big wheel on the front, handlebars.
Yeah.
And on the back, it's got two smaller wheels.
I think
So
I
then-
had one.
So then I would pedal it, and good fun. Well, I'm an adult now with adult money. We put a motor on it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Look up drift trikes on YouTube. Sometimes you might even find some of my videos, but they're
You have videos?
I might have a couple. Just saying. It's a good time.
Okay, well, since this upcoming week is the election, we'll get into some election questions. Would you like to explain why we as teenagers should vote?
I actually wanted to put a couple stipulations on this.
Oh, okay.
I want to see you give us a very thorough explanation on why we should vote within 30 seconds. I'll pull up a timer.
You don't need the timer.
Oh, you don't need the timer?
Yeah.
All right, no timer then.
If you don't vote, you don't get to complain.
Okay.
You don't get to complain about taxes. You don't get to complain about whether or not we go to war. You don't get to complain about whether or not grandma and grandpa have health care because Medicare and Medicaid are not available to them anymore. You don't. If you're like, I'm too busy or too lazy to have my voice heard on whether or not this person or that issue should be voted up or down, you don't get to complain.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's very
Yeah.
fair. Yeah.
Make your voice heard.
Question because a lot of these presidents, their issues don't apply to teenagers per se, like all the time. So, like, why should we vote this early, and why would we care about these issues?
So politicians, it appears as though politicians don't care about your issues because voters 18 to 24 are the lowest, have the lowest voter turnout of all voters. So politicians historically have looked at that and said, well, if you guys aren't going to participate in the process, then we're not going to care what your opinion is.
So basically, if we start voting more, then they will care about our issues.
Yeah. And you're going to care about those things. You're going to care about how much college costs.
Yeah.
You're going to care about whether or not the federal government's going to pay back your student loans for you.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to care about if you get drafted and sent to war. These are things you're going to care about.
Yeah, that's true.
Definitely. Moving on to the next question. What are your overall thoughts on like the election thus far? Like all the debates, all of the like campaigning stuff, whatnot.
It's interesting. It's interesting. When Joe Biden was still running, it was Donald Trump was doing very well. And in the first presidential debate, I watched that and I'm like, Donald Trump has won. But then President Biden was talked out of continuing to run, and his vice president stepped in, and that's a whole new game. Usually we have at least a year where we as a country are hearing from the candidates and their points of view, and we're getting to know them. We don't have that with Kamala Harris because she hasn't been running for president. So she hasn't been able to stand alone as her own person to say, yeah, I'm Joe Biden's vice president, but I have different ideas about this thing and this thing and this thing. And so she's only been running for president since really July. And the country is getting to know her and deciding if they like her or not. And Donald Trump is continually doing a good job of energizing his voters and energizing his base, which we can tell that by the polls that are happening in states right now. They're very close in a lot of battleground states.
Yeah. What do you think the role of social media is? It good or bad?
It depends on how you use it.
True. Yeah.
I tell my students never discuss politics on social media with family
Mm-hmm.
because it makes Thanksgiving awkward.
Yeah.
Definitely.
In class, we talk a lot about there are very few things in politics that are black and white. There are different shades of gray, and there's a lot more nuance in politics and governmental issues than you can talk about on social media. And sometimes social media stuff's just wrong. It's just anybody who has an opinion can post whatever they want without any sort of backup or sort of proof to it. And there are some people out there who are like, nope, I saw it online. It's got to be true. That's not how this works. That's why we spend so much time with you guys talking about evaluating credible sources.
Mm-hmm.
So that as you guys are using social media, you're looking at it and go, well, I'm not sure that's right. That doesn't sound right. Let me look, see if I can corroborate that somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, but I like it because my family lives in a different part of the state, and so I like to send pictures to my family and say, hey, here's what we're up to. Social media is not the place that you want to talk about politics. It's
No.
Yeah.
it's a lot more nuanced than that.
Elaborating on the question here, what about the role of social media when it comes to like the actual political parties promoting their campaigns and whatnot?
Their political parties are figuring out that social media is going to be their biggest biggest media buy. People don't watch cable news much anymore. They're missing out on the commercials that we used to see in the, prior to people streaming the news. So they're going to be using social media to put out their message,
Mm-hmm.
to put out their campaign ads on social media, because they used to be on TV all the time, but nobody watches TV the way we used to. So it's their new frontier for them, and if they can figure out how to make it work for them, they're going to win.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Next question here. Actually kind of tied this in with the last question. I did ask what your thoughts were on the previous couple of debates.
Joe Biden had a terrible debate.
Mm-hmm.
I have watched Joe Biden for many years as he was a member of the Senate from Delaware, and he used to be able to debate fantastically, but either he was off that night or maybe his age really is having an impact on him. He was not very good that night, and he was convinced to drop out of the race. Former President Trump did very well that night. He in the past has not done very well in debates because he doesn't appear to like to be challenged. And if he's challenged, he has no problem calling somebody out in the moment, and that doesn't always look very presidential. And that can sometimes hurt him, but also other times it helps him with his supporters. The last debate seemed to go fairly well for both sides. The vice presidential debate was kind of a snoozer. That's a very normal vice presidential debate.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I honestly really liked a lot of what was said during the vice presidential debate. It was fairly entertaining for me, at least.
It would be nice if that's how the presidential debate was like, but
I mean, the presidential debates are a lot more entertaining just because
Yeah.
it could be a lot more funnier, right?
yet the way that the vice presidents were kind of talking nicely with each other and kind of agreeing with each other's points.
Like a civil debate.
Yeah.
like-
But if entertainment wise, yeah, I think presidential debates are a lot better.
Yeah, a lot. There's been a lot of negativity and divide within the nation because of this election. Do you think that after the election, the nation can get past that and start to come together?
Quite honestly, it depends on who wins the election. I think in the long term, yes, we can get past this.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at all of American history and all the different challenges we have had in our history, we have had tremendously difficult times, but then still moved on as a country. I think America is resilient. Our republic is resilient. But a well-educated, informed public can figure out a way to move forward.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Mr.
And yeah,
Hayman.
It was very nice having you on the podcast, and you have the honor of being the first person on
Hey,
the podcast.
excellent.
So
Fantastic.
brag to Billingsley about
All right,
that.
I will. Thank you.
And to end off with this quote, with the election and college, maybe a little bit stress, we're gonna end off with this note by author Matt Haig. He says, always find time for the things that make you feel happy to be alive. So make sure you do. And this is the second episode of the Viking podcast. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. I hope you all have a great week. See ya.
Bye.